So we're going to cover just a couple minor things, some updates with Hedron. We'll talk about Icosa, Watza, and then we'll get into more of the ETH Merge and the proof of work chain, and then probably plenty of AMA towards the end there. The first thing that I wanted to pull up here is going to be, here's the most recent chart I could pull up as of a few minutes ago on the Hedron chart. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to point out that not a lot of people are talking about is the flow/deployer address depositing liquidity positions. So you'll see there in the bottom right, it's showing the dates of when these liquidity positions were first created and when they were added to, and then you'll also see how much Hex and Hedron is being used to add into these LP positions. You'll also see on the chart those vertical purple lines are the dates on when those positions were either created or added to. And then you'll notice the big purple kind of rectangle box is kind of running through the chart. That's basically where the old the Hex cell wall, the OA, the daughter address cell wall was roughly at. And then basically it's become a buy area, like a support area. Not only just from that, but also the SA has kind of been depositing in this range too. And so it's been kind of fun to watch this kind of develop and watch how it kind of has been affecting the Hedron price so far.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, are we going to talk about the MAXI too? You have that on here in a bit?
Oh yeah, I did not create a slide for that. I was actually already done with this, but yeah, the Hedron deployer address did go ahead and take a lot or some of its MAXI. I believe it was 5,555,555, and it went ahead and minted the equivalent amount in Team, and that happened about an hour ago, or maybe a little bit more than an hour ago. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. So what does that mean for MAXI, for Hedron, for Team? Like, what does that mean to holders out there?
Well, if you're looking at the Team protocol, like essentially how that's working. So the process is you take your MAXI, right, and you mint it 1-for-1 for Team. And these are basically come in 1 year increments to earn the rewards from it. So that means at the same time, roughly every year, you will then be able to pull any rewards that have been accumulated during that time. So, for example, half of all the Hex earned on the Bigger Pays Better bonus from all the perpetuals are going to the Team pool, along with all the Hedron. And then you'll also see in the 369 rebate period, which is every 3, 6, and 9 years, you'll get a 30%. You get 30% of the MAXI used to mint the Team will be rewarded back to the Team stakers on those years. So essentially, this is just taking a bite out of that kind of pool, and we'll just kind of see what it does from there. I mean, it's engaging in the protocol, which I think is awesome.
I love these I was talking to Dipcatcher about this. You think between the mystery box and deployer address, there'll be like a quid pro quo, like there'll be like this tip of the hat back and forth and stuff going on. I think I could see some playfulness going on between the two in like a pumpamental way. I think that would be fun to see, and we can watch them and see what happens in the future. But from the secret codes to, now we have 2 of these, mystery box type things that no expectation boxes. And we have 2 teams that are doing some amazing stuff in the ecosystem that like each other, apparently. That's going to be fun to watch. I think that's going to be they're going to be singing some songs. I'll say that.
Absolutely. I mean, both those protocols are the most bullish things for Hex that we're seeing right now in terms of technicals, right, and pumpamentals. And to see them kind of working together a little bit to make both the ecosystems more powerful it's fun to watch, you know, and if they do start playing off of each other, I haven't heard that before. So that's the first time you're telling me that, or me hearing that Dipcatcher had talked about the mystery box a little bit, and
Oh yeah.
what we might see come from that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So when I had him on a week or two ago to talk about team and perpetuals, we discussed it, and maybe that clip. Yeah, I guess that clip is still scheduled. It hasn't came out yet, so that's another reason why a lot of people probably haven't seen it. But it's buried in that very interesting conversation I had with him. So
That's very cool.
yeah.
Right on. All right. So let's see, where are we at now? Okay. So let's see, next page. All right, let's talk a little bit about Icosa. The only real update I wanted to share is basically what I've been tracking so far, which is the relationship between the B share and the Icosa price. So this is something that kind of in the first couple of days, it was a little sporadic, and you could see that there towards the beginning of the chart. It was a little sporadic on its correlation, and then it like immediately kind of snapped to attention there, and it's kind of been hovering around this basically 22 to 32% kind of premium on top of there. So the Icosa price basically running at a 30% premium over the B share price. So this is something I was tracking earlier on because it sparked my attention when you're seeing the equation on how how Icosa comes into existence. You already have the correlation based on B shares times days staked equals how much Hedron you can mint or how much borrowable Hedron you can get. And that borrowable Hedron is connected to the T share right there. But then you also have another factor, which is as time goes on and you want to mint new Icosa, you're taking the total borrowed Hedron on that stake, which could be static if you created it a while ago, right? But that
Right.
amount of Icosa you can mint every day goes down based on the T share going up. So you have to assume there's going to be some sort of double play on the price action because of that. So that's why I started tracking it initially, and I just wanted to see kind of how it would play out over time. And the interesting factor is if you look at the premium chart, it was holding really strong between that 25 and 30% premium, and has recently kind of taken this bullish march up. And then the blue line in the middle is just kind of like an average on what the trend is. So it's trending to the up direction.
Why do you think there's still a premium there? Like, what do you think plays into that? And because we think it should roughly follow, hex in a lot of ways or characteristics of it. So, do you think we'll ever see a premium on the downside, or do you think it'll always be on the upside?
So this premium will continue to hold and go to the upside as long as the price of Icosa is at the ceiling. So the possible downside is essentially more selling than buying, and there's more selling on the Icosa side than there is on the hex side, right? So if there's more downward pressure on the Icosa price than there is on the hex price, then you may see a decorrelate from that price ceiling. And if that were to happen, then you would start to see that premium go down. So the only reason it's going up is because the ceiling is rising every day. Every time the T-share rate ratchets up, that price ceiling also ratchets up. So that just insinuates that as time goes on, like if we started at day zero, we might assume that maybe there's a 1-to-1 price ratio between the B share and Icosa. But because it ratchets up every day after that, you're going to see a little bit more of a premium, a little bit more, and a little bit more. And as long as it sticks to that ceiling, this may be a trend that just continues, that it may just hover around this area, if that makes sense.
What do you think the event would need to look like for Icosa to just dump? Like, what do you think that looks like? What are the scenarios?
I mean, it would literally simply just be more people selling than buying, and some sort of cascade effect on that. But here's the thing: is there's a counter argument to that though too, is the only way that Icosa truly comes into existence in any significant amount currently is through the HSI buyback. right? So
Mm-hmm.
there is no incentive for somebody to run the HSI buyback and then immediately sell it on the market if it's not at or above that ceiling price. Otherwise, they're just losing money. They might as well just sell their hex straight up than use this process. So what happens is if we do see some sort of a dump in the downward direction, we will see the supply, the new supply of Icosa coming into existence, grind to almost a halt because there is no more HSIs being sold for Icosa, right?
Gotcha.
So at that point, it's kind of like this really cool balancing effect. So when that happens, then you're going to have a static supply, and then it's just going to be left up to the market. Like, are we going to see more buyers or sellers just to buy it off the market, right? So if people see that and they're like, oh, this is a discount. This is well below the ceiling price. I'm not coming and buy that. And if there's enough buyers that bring that price right back up to that ceiling price, then all of a sudden we can get the gears rolling again. And I just actually remembered of a scenario when you asked, like, what's kind of an event that we might see it kind of depeg from this ceiling price. I believe the first time we're going to see that, and this is just my prediction, just my guess, would be on the auction day, on that 90-day auction day. I see a scenario where some individuals or a group of people may be purchasing a bunch of those HSIs off the auction at the last, within those last 5 minutes there, and really trying to get a ton of these HSIs at a discount. And if they get a ton at a discount, the one thing they might consider doing is taking those HSIs, running them back through the buyback program to get their Icosa and sell that immediately, and kind of cause this arbitration loop. And if that were to happen, there may be a lot of sell pressure on Icosa at that particular point in time.
So they would want, if they got them at a discount, that's the caveat. They would have to get them at a discount and then sell them for Icosa or trade them for Icosa, basically. And then we're assuming they don't just stake that Icosa, then they'd have to sell it for that to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love the just like, oh, nope, gotcha. Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, like there's a lot of steps for this for Icosa to have to dump. Sounds like.
Yeah, this kind of brings up kind of a new strategy that, and this is probably a long shot, but if anybody was trying to actually pick Icosa off the floor for maybe 50% discount or more, having some dry powder on the sidelines for that day, like if you don't want to mess with the auctions, if you don't want to go through that that sweaty, nail biting experience of trying to win these HSIs and a lot of technical stuff that comes with it, you could literally just be watching the Icosa price chart. And if you see that dip, you can start picking that up. Because, again, once that happens, the idea that it would stay down for a long period of time, like days on end, is just highly unlikely because there's just not going to be any more Icosa really coming in after the auction happens, right? The auction happens, we got a ton of HSIs, people might be flipping them, but then you're going to see a whole lot of the supply kind of shore up, right? It's going to shore up a little bit, and then it's just going to create a little bit of a scarcity of the token, and all you need is a little bit more buys than sells, and then you might see that come up and meet that ceiling price real quick.
What do you think of this one? Too, not likely to get them a discount. SA won't likely allow it. What, anything on that one?
Oh, I don't think the SA will be involved at all.
Yeah, that's what wasn't sure. I was like, am I missing something as far as it goes? So yeah, can you just explain why you would think that? Unless we're both missing something.
The only time that, so we've talked a lot about the SA's possible kind of interventions when it comes to the auctions. We were talking about this like back in February, so it was a long time ago, right? But the only thing that jogs my mind is there was a scenario we were looking at where, okay, if you've got some real tiny HSIs, right, that are worth pennies, right, and it's essentially would cost you more in gas to bid on these HSIs and receive them than it would be to just create your own, right? Like almost nearly worthless. that there was some talk like, okay, that would be a scenario where the SA may come in and clean up the auction board, right? Get rid of all of those HSIs that nobody wants, but they would have to sit there for a while first, like to truly make sure that nobody wants them for any reason, and then maybe it cleans up the auction board. But it's not going to be the SA that we have to worry about in the auction. It's going to be the guys who have been accumulating a whole lot of Hedron, and the guys who have been able to mint a whole lot of Hedron just natively off their hex stakes, that are going to be trying to get these T-shares on the cheap, right? I mean, T-shares are already cheap as it is just because of the hex price, right? Like, it's pretty amazing. However, if there's a market where somebody could get a discount on a discount, they're going to do it, right? They're going to go for that. And we will definitely be seeing some big players coming in and trying to go after those large T-share stakes at the beginning, for sure. Like, that'll be a thing. But a scenario where the SA would come in and, you know, pick up a bunch of these HSIs, like, it would have to be a benevolent scenario. It'd have to be a good reason for the whole community, like to benefit the whole community for doing so. And I just don't really see a reason why it would do that.
Gotcha. AJ, if you have a scenario that you can think of too, other than one we just talked about, feel free to post it in there. We'll throw it up and see if we can grok on it a bit. Yeah, please continue.
So that's basically the one scenario where I can see in the upcoming future, like the near future, a couple months out, where I could see this depegging from the ceiling price. Until then, there is too much of a benefit to own Icosa and stake it and earn double yield on that stake via 2 tokens. That's just too powerful of a narrative for people to just let the price come down any lower than the ceiling price there.
One more from AJ. Have you ever seen HSI sell for cheap? I haven't.
I snaked one.
You snaked one? Okay.
Oh, it's not easy. It's not easy. Like the
like
whales.
eBay 2 minutes down.
Man, the
last 3 seconds.
I mean, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Like, the whales that put up their HSIs when they borrowed on those, like right when Hedron launched, like there was literally no reason for them to be doing that. Like, they were getting pennies, you know, for their $1,000 or $500 hex stakes, right? There was no reason to do that. They just wanted to get the system going. They wanted to see the auction rolling, and then they probably wanted to see some Hedron get burned. So essentially, you know, I would bid up these HSIs to the fair market value, right? And then they would come in and they'd bid on top of that, right? And they would go above that, and I'm out at that point, right? Like, I'll just go make my own HSI. Like, there's no reason for me to overpay, but they will bid over. Well, there's a couple of the whale/sharks that I would be confronted with. I would call him the 6969 bidder. And that's basically what he did. Is he would bid a lot of 6.9s, and he would also bid. Oh no, there was the 6969 bidder, and then there was the +1 bidder. And the +1 would take whatever Hedron bid you did. He would add one more Hedron to it, or he or she, to just overtake it. That's and funny. Yeah, the only way I was able to really snipe a couple on cheap, which was about a 40 to 45% discount, which is awesome, was causing mass mayhem and confusion in the last 5 minutes, right? Because there was more than one stake being auctioned in that time period. So if you've got confusion, multiple stakes going at in that same 5-minute period that's about to go, like that's kind of the twilight zone where you could really, you know, make things happen. Don't expect to bid on it 5 hours before the auction ends and expect to get it. That ain't gonna happen unless you're overpriced. Like, if you're way overpriced, maybe. But this is where the advantage is going to be. This is where everyone is going to have a chance to get cheap HSIs. We're going to see 2,400, not 3 that I was successful in getting some from the whales, right? Not 3, they're 2,400. So it's going to be absolute mayhem. And so I think a lot of people are going to get some good deals.
Alex, give us those eBay max bid tools, auto bid. Well, can you see like Hedron in 5 years? Maybe.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Like when Icosa, when the testnet first went up, right, on the PulseChain testnet, this was all happening on there first, right? So we were all going on with our HSIs and we were selling them to the contract. We were doing our stakes, everything on testnet, right? So 90 days from that day, if anybody wants to learn, once we see the DApp updated on Icosa.pro, I believe we will be able to practice and we can go in on testnet and start purchasing these HSI stakes on auction with play money. But it would give you an idea of like what it looks like, how how the stakes are all laid out, how to start calculating, what fair value is, the whole 9 yards. So I'm really hopeful we get to see something like that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Alex. Right. Hopefully that's all built and ready to go.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was. He's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have something any more on Icosa or WAATSA? Okay, we're going to WAATSA. Cool.
Let's go into WAATSA. So here's just kind of a quick little update. Pool size continues to go down. Surprise, surprise. That's all it can do. It could either go sideways or go down. Average NFT size. That's the interesting one. That one's interesting because this is kind of like an indicator showing what size bags are redeeming their NFTs, right? Redeeming their yield. So as the average NFT price goes up, we're seeing smaller bags taking their yield. When the average size goes down, we'll be seeing some larger bags taking their yield. And what size, you may ask? Well, 965 million points and above. So I think we just recently, thanks to Dev Huey, big shout out there. That guy's on top of it.
Shout out.
Said, that was over 5 NFTs were burned for 1,000 M points. So I think we can pretty much safe to say that there hasn't been any over 1,000 or $1,000 worth actually been burned yet. So this is all bags under 1,000 worth that are getting burned so far. Once we start seeing this chart kind of get a little top heavy, then maybe we might see some real action on the pool, on the overall pool size really taking some nosedives. And we might see some of these, the total left of Watza start really taking a nosedive too. Because as we see, talk about 2 charts you want to see go down, right? you look at those 2 charts. If they start nosediving like it looks like a rug pull, man, you're doing good. You're doing real good.
We like number go down for Watza. Yes.
That's right.
Wow. So it's, all depends if people Watza Icosa, bang, bang. I did it.
That's right.
I did it. Yeah, that's your pun for today, everyone. That's all I got.
It's perfect.
Cool, man. Yeah, number go down. I like it. What's up?
Then the next, I was just gonna touch on a couple of things real quick, and then if we want to, talk to other people or do whatever, we can do that. I'll just go through these last 2 slides.
Sure.
Essentially, what we see here is we see the merge tracker happening. So September 15th. If you're in the Mountain Time Zone, it was 12:42 a.m. UTC time was 6:42 a.m. on UTC. But basically, this tracker was just tracking the merge, and I mean, it was kind of an incredible feat, honestly. I believe there was a 12-second delay in the process, which skipped 1 block. Like, that is kind of mind-blowing. I was expecting a long pause, like where everyone's kind of like, biting their nails trying to see what's going to happen. But, I mean, man, they pulled it off. I think it's super cool. And the ramifications really is there's really no more proof of waste from the Ethereum network, which is awesome, right? If you're into it. And the better EIP 1559 performance, supposedly so far it's causing, maybe a little bit more throughput, maybe the number of filled blocks on the Ethereum network has decreased about 10%, something like that. I saw Vitalik tweeting about. So they're getting some better performance out of the network, although it may be small. It's going to be nothing like what we'll see out of PulseChain, but it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade, right?
Supposedly, yeah. I think the biggest thing nobody's talking about, and maybe we'll get into it in a bit, is just how this has not been security tested as much. I mean, I'm sure on testnet I'm sure someone spent millions of dollars to defend their bags to make sure this is tested thoroughly. But I mean, we're talking about one of the biggest projects in the world going live, and you're going to be exposed to everyone who wants those millions of dollars, or who can benefit in some way from ETH not working, or things like that. So, I mean, good for the ecosystem, but next year or two, I don't know. We're gonna see. Hopefully, there's no critical bugs that come out, or if they do, they get fixed before people lose money. So that's just one small part of it, but yeah, that's something that it's everyone's like, oh, new shiny thing. Yes, new shiny thing, and everything that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of wait and see, right? It's almost like, way back in the day when we'd see new networks go up, and then we'd see them go down, or like you just don't really know what you're gonna get from it, and all we could really do is speculate. All we could really do is look at it and be like, is it working now? Okay, yes, good, and then it's just like time will tell. Like that's basically all we can do.
Cool. Real time merge tracker. You've heard it here. Our next guest has not made it back to his chair yet, but as soon as he does, I will throw him in. And as soon as Gifford is finished with his presentation as well.
You just cut me off whenever. I was actually. Oh yeah, I'll save that for when Jesse comes on. We should, or whoever the guest is.
Damn it! That's okay.
I'm terrible at this
too. I do it sometimes too. Don't worry. I said it the other day. I think, who was it? I had on a week or so ago. Oh, yeah, David Feeder. I said, I was doing my intro and said blah, blah, blah. And then I said something about, and if David wants to, I'm like, no, don't do it.
Your surprise guest thing is what's throwing us all off. That's what's going on.
I know. I don't tell people how, you know it by now, but like most people, that's the first time when they come back. And I don't tell them. So they retweet it. They talk about it. Oh, I'm going live with RHMax, all this stuff. And I'm like, it's fine. I mean, maybe not everyone will see it. The surprise thing is kind of just like I don't know. It doesn't have to be like it's kind of one of those birthday surprises that like, it's probably coming, and nobody's going to like keep it super secret. So you're okay if a few people know. So it's fine.
Right.
Come back to your chair, guest. I see a chair moving around a little bit. I'm afraid to add it right now. I don't want to add it without someone being there. I almost said it. It's a great hook. I know. I'm just going to keep doing hooks until second special guest comes back.
Oh, hey, that Rip City. He said he spread out a bunch of Icosa over like 8 pools, and he said he's trying to get them all at 180 days, and I think that's a really smart play. That is a really smart play. That 180 day range has been kind of golden, like kind of like a golden zone, right? Like it gives you a decent bonus, and it keeps a lot of your tokens liquid fairly quickly, or it gets them liquid fairly quickly, right? Like they can still sit in those pools and still accumulate yield, and you could still, as long as your position hasn't changed, you can still get the bonuses whenever. But the 180 days, I like that, Rip City. Nicely done.
Very cool. AJ has been around a bit, and very cool. Well, yeah, talk to the chat for a second. While we wait on other special guests, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Cool. What's up, Crypto Sloth? What's cracking, buddy? I see you all up in there. And Marion and a bunch of other peeps. So yeah, let's talk about those the waterfall strategy a little bit, right? We talked about that last time, and some people were asking me a little bit more questions, on different social media platforms. But yeah, Rip City or AJ, that's one strategy that you could use with that method, with the waterfall method. It's just literally just having multiple wallets, having a having a game plan of how you want to distribute your funds, and how you want to obtain your yield, and how long you want to be locked up, and what are you going to do if you get diluted, that sort of a thing. And that just gives you a lot of options. I'm stoked to see you doing that, because I've been eyeballing that 180 day mark for a little while now. I've definitely been playing it myself. So very cool.
He's still not back. AMA, so people start asking some questions.
All right, well, we'll just skip to the next slide then.
Or that, yeah, we'll do that. Whatever you got. Good for.
All right, so ETH proof of work network. So I'm not going to have probably a whole lot of opinions on this. I'm just kind of like pointing out some things that I see. So there's three things that you kind of really need for a successful network. Obviously, you have to have adoption, you have to have good security, and you got to have development going forward. So these are the key things that you have to see from a network like the ETH POW network. Okay, so adoption huge, security huge, development huge. All three of those, you got to have the trifecta on that. What we're running into now is people kind of falling into three different categories on what they believe the ETH proof of work network is, right? They have the greed atmosphere where it's like, oh, I'm gonna buy all these cheap tokens on this side, this network, and I make a bunch of money off of it. There's the fear side. There's people talking about replay attacks, and they're saying it's just an insecure network, and you're gonna get hacked in a bridge or on a bad website, or you name it, right? They're very fearful of it. And then you got just like the educational factor of it, right? I'm more in the educational factor of this. I am here to learn as much as I can about this new network. I will play with it, but safely. And not until I feel super comfortable would I ever actually put funds into this network, right? Like actual real funds. So that's where I'm at right now. How about you?
Well, I don't know. I still, and we talked a little bit about this, and I've talked about a little bit on Twitter too, but I mean, it's definitely the biggest speculation event of the year. It's not PulseChain, so it's hard for me to care that much about it. I just, when I see people and hear people, doing, oh, Hex went 50x on ETHW and stuff, I'm just like, man, I don't know. I just think it's a ripe opportunity to get wrecked in a lot of ways. Nothing against the chain, nothing against proof of work. I just think that, I mean, there's going to be some opportunities. There's going to be arbitrage. There's going to be lots of ways to make money from it. But to me, it's not to a point like these kind of events they're not investing. They're just gambling. You're just like, well, maybe it'll stick around, maybe it won't. So the argument's like, okay, well, yeah, I just put $100 into it. I just put beer money. I just put a little bit. That's kind of like the free claim thing. That's kind of like where, oh, I did the free claim, but now your consciousness is in that project. Now you have those tokens. Now you're a little bit friendly towards the dev. You're a little bit friendly towards the project, even though you may not know much more about it other than it's a free claim and free money. Oh, I'll just dump the coins. You're making a lot of assumptions there. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll see one of your favorite streamers like, oh, did you claim this yet? And now you'll have it. And now you start buying some more and all this stuff. So I think it's like a cascading, one of those slippery slope type of things that, yeah, it's free money, but now your consciousness is in it. And with this, it's like, yeah, you got double your coins. Oh, maybe I can make some money. Like, I don't know. I would rather spend my brain power and my consciousness and on things that I know are going to be around for a while. Hex, PulseChain, Hedron, all this stuff like that. And to me, it's just I mean, in a bear market, you need distractions. Like, I think if I'm going to have a distraction, I'd rather it happen in a bear market like this. But to me, it's not this huge opportunity to like get Hex pre-penny. It's not. I just don't. I don't think we know enough about who's going to support it. We know a lot of big player USDC is not supported. All this stuff. I don't know. I mean, you talk to people. Is it a money grab? Is it? Do we know the developers? What is the actual use in doing this other than to cash in for the next few months? At least with Bitcoin Cash, it's like, there's a purpose. You want to make Bitcoin used for cash. Like Roger Ver had a very pure purpose. Whether you like him or hate him, the guy has principles. So there was a purpose behind that. I could understand that a lot better. But for this, I'm like, cash grab, and then I'm going to go play with my Hex around it and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think we know enough to make any rational decisions around it. So in that way, that's kind of the definition of DG gambling in a lot of ways. So
sure, I think there's a lot of truth to that. The when I'm sitting in my kind of like the educational chair though, like, right, and I'm trying to learn from this, the one thing it has done is brought me back to really researching Ethereum early on, like in its lifespan, right? Like you got like what was it, 2015 launch, and then you've got the DAO hack, and then you've got the spin-off of Ethereum Classic and the reasons behind that. And I'm starting to see I'm starting to kind of get this feeling that we might see some similar action between Ethereum Classic and the Ethereum main chain there.
I just
I
love
think
this comment out. This is a great comment.
Yeah.
Shout out
The
to Jay
poor miners.
Yeah, shout out to Jay
Yeah,
everything.
we feel
sorry
sorry
to
for
interrupt.
them. They get some crazy rewards, man. It's pretty wild. They make good money. Like at least a big like commercial size, like commercial farm mining, like they do quite well for themselves.